Every single morning, 78 million adults over the age of 45 wake up exhausted. Not just tired from poor sleep, but truly exhausted. A deep, bone-level fatigue that a full night's rest doesn't touch. They drag themselves out of bed feeling worse than when they went to sleep. Their brain feels foggy, their body feels heavy, and by 2 p.m., they're fighting to keep their eyes open at their desk or on the couch. Most people blame age. They say, well, I'm 55 now. This is just how it is. I'm going to tell you why that belief is fundamentally wrong. Your exhaustion, your weight gain around the middle that won't budge, your inability to focus, your disappearing muscle tone, your vanishing motivation. None of that is age. That is your hormones running backwards. And the medical system you trust, they're testing the wrong things at the wrong time and giving you answers that keep you stuck exactly where you are. Subscribe to Dr. Waterling right now and hit that like button. We're building this channel on one principle: real solutions that the system won't give you, because there's no profit in you fixing this yourself. Here's what I mean by backwards. Your body runs on a precise hormonal rhythm called the circadian cycle. Cortisol, your primary stress and energy hormone, should surge in the early morning hours, peaking around 30 minutes after you wake up. This cortisol spike is supposed to make you feel alert, energized, ready to move. At the same time, melatonin, your sleep hormone, should drop to nearly zero. Then, as the day progresses, cortisol gradually declines, while serotonin, your mood and satiety hormone, rises. By evening, cortisol should be at its lowest point, and melatonin should begin climbing, preparing you for deep restorative sleep. That's the natural rhythm. That's what your body is designed to do. But in roughly 60% of adults over 50, this rhythm has completely inverted. They wake up with low cortisol and residual melatonin still circulating. They feel groggy and unmotivated. By evening, when cortisol should be low, it spikes. They feel wired and anxious. They can't fall asleep. And when they finally do sleep, it's shallow and unrefreshing because melatonin release is delayed or insufficient. This is not a minor inconvenience. In endocrinology, we call this circadian rhythm disruption, and it is one of the most significant contributors to metabolic disease, weight gain, cognitive decline, and accelerated aging. When your hormones run backwards, your entire metabolism runs backwards. Your body stores fat when it should burn it. It breaks down muscle when it should build it. It keeps you awake when you should sleep and exhausted when you should have energy. Let me explain exactly what's happening inside your body. Your hypothalamus, a small region at the base of your brain roughly the size of an almond, controls your master clock. This clock responds to light, food timing, movement, and temperature. When it functions correctly, it sends precisely timed signals to your adrenal glands, two small triangle-shaped organs sitting on top of your kidneys, telling them when to release cortisol. It also signals your pineal gland, a tiny pine cone-shaped structure deep in your brain, when to produce melatonin. But here's where everything falls apart. Your hypothalamus needs clear, consistent signals to keep this rhythm accurate. The strongest signal is light, specifically bright light containing blue wavelengths hitting your eyes within the first hour of waking. When your retinas, the light-sensitive tissue at the back of your eyes, detect this bright blue light, they send a direct signal through the optic nerve to a cluster of neurons called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, your brain's master timekeeper. This signal says, "It's morning. Start the day." That signal triggers a cascade. Within minutes, your adrenal glands release cortisol, your core body temperature begins to rise, your pineal gland stops producing melatonin, you shift from a sleep state into a waking, energized state. This isn't subtle. This is a full metabolic shift that affects every cell in your body. But what actually happens in most people's mornings? They wake up in a dark bedroom. They immediately look at their phone, exposing their eyes to artificial light, but from only a few inches away, not the intensity or wavelength their brain needs. They stay indoors under dim artificial lighting. They drink coffee, which temporarily masks fatigue but does nothing to fix the underlying hormonal signal. Some don't eat anything until noon, which delays the secondary timing signal from food intake. Others eat high-sugar breakfast foods that spike insulin and further disrupt cortisol patterns. By the time they get any genuine bright light exposure, it's 9 or 10 a.m., maybe later. By then, the critical window has closed. The cortisol awakening response, the natural surge that should have peaked 30 minutes after waking, never happened. Their brain never received the clear morning signal. Their rhythm remains misaligned. And this happens day after day after day until the misalignment becomes their new normal. The consequences extend far beyond morning fatigue. When cortisol stays low in the morning, your body can't effectively mobilize glucose for energy. Your brain, which consumes roughly 20% of your total glucose, doesn't get adequate fuel. That's the fog, the poor concentration, the inability to remember names or find words. When cortisol then spikes at night, it raises blood glucose when your body should be fasting and repairing. Elevated nighttime glucose promotes fat storage, particularly visceral fat around your organs, the most dangerous kind. Chronic circadian disruption also destroys insulin sensitivity. Insulin is the hormone that moves glucose from your bloodstream into your cells. When your daily rhythm is backwards, your cells become resistant to insulin signals. Your pancreas has to produce more and more insulin to achieve the same glucose clearance. Over years, this leads directly to type 2 diabetes. And I'm not talking about people with terrible diets or zero exercise. I'm talking about people who eat reasonably well and stay moderately active, but still develop metabolic disease because their hormonal timing is broken. Here's what makes this especially insidious. When you go to your doctor complaining of fatigue, they run standard blood work. They check your thyroid hormones, maybe your vitamin D, your iron levels, your blood glucose. All of those tests use blood drawn at a single point in time, usually mid-morning at the lab's convenience. But hormones don't work on single measurements. Hormones work on rhythms. Your cortisol level at 10 a.m. tells me almost nothing about whether your morning surge happened correctly. Your single glucose measurement doesn't reveal the nighttime spikes that are storing fat while you sleep, so your lab work comes back normal. Your doctor says, everything looks fine. Maybe you're just stressed. Try to get more sleep. And you walk out feeling dismissed, confused, and still exhausted because nobody measured the actual problem. Your rhythm is backwards. The system is not built to identify circadian disruption because there's no pharmaceutical solution that's both effective and profitable. You can't patent morning sunlight. You can't charge $300 a month for a prescription to eat breakfast at a consistent time. The interventions that actually reset your hormonal rhythm are free or nearly free, which means there's no revenue stream, so the problem remains invisible in conventional medicine. Let me tell you about Margaret, 58 years old, who came to my office after 2 years of progressive fatigue. She'd been to 3 different doctors. Her thyroid was normal. Her iron was normal. Her vitamin levels were adequate. She'd tried antidepressants, thinking maybe it was psychological. No improvement. She was sleeping 8 hours a night, but waking up feeling drugged. By afternoon, she couldn't stay awake. She'd gained 18 pounds around her midsection, despite eating less than she had in her 40s. I asked her one question. What time do you see bright daylight? She looked confused. I don't know, lunchtime maybe. I work in an office with no windows. There was the answer. She was getting zero bright light exposure during the critical morning window. Her brain had no idea what time of day it was. Her cortisol rhythm had flattened completely. She was producing roughly the same low level of cortisol all day long, never enough to feel truly awake, never low enough to allow deep sleep. I gave her a protocol. Within 2 weeks, her energy returned. Within a month, she'd lost 7 pounds without changing her diet. Within 3 months, she felt better than she had in a decade. What did she do? She reset her hormonal rhythm using precise timing of light, food, movement, and temperature. No medications, no supplements, just proper signals delivered at the correct times. This is what conventional medicine doesn't want to admit. Your body is not broken. Your hormones are not failing due to age. They're responding exactly as they should to the signals you're giving them. The problem is, you're giving them the wrong signals at the wrong times. When you correct the signals, the hormones correct themselves. Here is your complete 7-minute morning protocol, clinically organized, that will reset your hormonal rhythm starting tomorrow. Step 1. Bright light exposure within 15 minutes of waking. The moment your alarm goes off, you have one job. Get your eyes exposed to bright outdoor light as quickly as possible, not through a window. Glass blocks the specific blue wavelengths your retinas need to trigger the cortisol surge. You need direct outdoor light hitting your eyes. If it's sunny, 2 to 3 minutes is sufficient. If it's overcast, you need 10 minutes. If you wake before sunrise, use the brightest indoor lights you have until the sun comes up, then get outside immediately. Stand outside. You don't need to stare at the sun. You're not trying to damage your retinas. Just face the general direction of the sky. Let the ambient light enter your eyes naturally. Blink normally. If you wear glasses, keep them on. If you wear contacts, that's fine too. The light still reaches your retinas. What you cannot do is wear sunglasses. Sunglasses block the exact wavelengths you need. This single action, done consistently, will restore your cortisol awakening response within 5 to 7 days. I'm not exaggerating. The research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology demonstrates that morning bright light exposure advances cortisol rhythm and increases peak cortisol amplitude by an average of 50% within 1 week of consistent practice. Step 2. Cold water face exposure for 30 seconds. Immediately after your light exposure, go to your bathroom sink. Fill your hands with cold water, the coldest your tap produces, and splash it repeatedly onto your face for 30 seconds. Submerge your whole face if you can tolerate it. This triggers the mammalian dive reflex, an ancient physiological response that instantly increases heart rate, sharpens mental alertness, and enhances sympathetic nervous system activation. The cold water also causes rapid peripheral vasoconstriction, the tightening of blood vessels in your skin, followed by rebound vasodilation when you stop. This vascular exercise improves circulation and accelerates the shift from sleep state to waking state. You should feel a distinct sensation of alertness within seconds. If you don't feel anything, the water isn't cold enough. Step 3. 5 diaphragmatic breaths with full exhalation. Stand upright. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4, allowing your belly to expand fully while your chest remains relatively still. This ensures you're engaging your diaphragm, the large dome-shaped muscle at the base of your lungs, rather than using shallow chest breathing. Hold for a count of 2, then exhale completely through your mouth for a count of 6, pulling your belly button toward your spine to empty your lungs fully. The extended exhalation is critical. Most people never fully exhale, leaving stale air and carbon dioxide in the lower portions of their lungs. Full exhalation followed by deep inhalation maximizes oxygen delivery to your brain and signals your nervous system to shift into an alert, parasympathetic balanced state. Repeat this 5 times. This takes roughly 90 seconds and delivers more oxygen to your prefrontal cortex than your first cup of coffee. Step 4. Protein and fat breakfast within 45 minutes of waking. Your second strongest circadian signal after light is food timing. Eating protein and fat within the first hour of waking tells your body the day has started. Begin daytime metabolism. This triggers thermogenesis, heat production from digesting food, which further raises core body temperature and reinforces the waking signal. Your breakfast should contain a minimum of 25 grams of protein and 10 to 15 grams of healthy fat. Examples: 3 eggs cooked in butter or olive oil with half an avocado, Greek yogurt full fat with a handful of nuts and seeds, smoked salmon with cream cheese, leftover chicken thigh from dinner. The specific food doesn't matter. What matters is the macronutrient composition and the timing. Do not eat carbohydrate-dominant breakfasts. No toast, no cereal, no oatmeal with fruit, no pastries. These foods spike insulin, which directly suppresses cortisol. You just spent your light exposure and cold water trying to raise cortisol naturally. Eating high-carbohydrate foods immediately after waking sabotages that entire process. Step 5. 10 bodyweight squats with controlled tempo. After breakfast, perform 10 full-depth squats. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Lower your hips until your thighs are at least parallel to the floor, keeping your chest upright and your weight in your heels. Take 3 seconds to descend, pause for 1 second at the bottom, then take 2 seconds to rise back up. This movement activates your largest muscle groups, quadriceps, glutes, hamstrings. Muscle contraction releases myokines, signaling molecules that communicate directly with your endocrine system, reinforcing metabolic activation. The controlled tempo ensures you're actually engaging the muscles rather than bouncing through momentum. If 10 repetitions feel too easy, you're moving too fast. Slow down until you feel genuine muscular effort. Step 6. 1 minute of deliberate jaw and facial muscle movement. Your face contains 43 muscles. Most people use perhaps 10 of them regularly, letting the others atrophy. Facial muscle activity stimulates blood flow to your brain and activates cranial nerves that regulate alertness. Open your mouth as wide as possible, stretching your jaw muscles. Hold for 5 seconds. Close your mouth and clench your jaw firmly. Hold for 5 seconds. Raise your eyebrows as high as possible, wrinkling your forehead. Hold for 5 seconds. Squeeze your eyes shut tightly. Hold for 5 seconds. Make the biggest smile you can, engaging your cheeks fully. Hold for 5 seconds. Repeat this entire sequence twice. You'll look ridiculous. Do it anyway. This stimulates circulation, engages your trigeminal nerve, and creates proprioceptive feedback that sharpens cognitive function. Step 7. Set your sleep anchor for tonight. The final step of your morning routine is actually preparation for that evening. Decide right now what time you will begin your wind-down routine tonight. If you want to be asleep by 10 p.m., your wind down starts at 9 p.m. Write it down, set an alarm. This commitment, made in the morning when your willpower and decision-making capacity are highest, prevents the evening drift that keeps most people scrolling their phones until midnight. Your evening routine must include 2 non-negotiable elements: 0 screens for the final hour before sleep and a room temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Your core body temperature must drop to initiate melatonin release and deep sleep. A warm room prevents this temperature drop. Most people keep their bedrooms far too warm, then wonder why they can't fall asleep. This complete 7-minute protocol addresses every major signal your circadian system needs: light, temperature, movement, food timing, and respiratory patterns. Done consistently, it will restore your natural hormonal rhythm within 2 to 3 weeks. How old are you? Write it in the comments. I want to see which age group makes up the majority of our viewers, because it will directly shape what I cover in future videos. Now, here's what you should expect. During the first 3 days, you may not feel dramatically different. You're beginning to send your body correct signals, but years of misalignment don't reverse instantly. Your hypothalamus needs repeated, consistent input to recalibrate its timing. By days 4 through 7, most people report noticeably improved morning alertness. The grogginess lifts faster. They feel genuinely awake within 20 minutes instead of needing 2 hours. By week 2, sleep quality improves. You fall asleep faster, stay asleep more consistently, and wake feeling actually rested. This is your melatonin rhythm correcting itself in response to the properly timed cortisol rhythm. By week 3, energy becomes stable throughout the day. The afternoon crash diminishes or disappears entirely. By week 4, most people notice body composition changes. Midsection fat begins reducing even without caloric restriction because nighttime cortisol spikes have stopped driving fat storage. If you have a history of insomnia, anxiety disorders, or diagnosed cortisol dysfunction like Addison's disease or Cushing's syndrome, these protocols support your treatment but do not replace medical management. Work with your prescribing physician. If you take corticosteroid medications for autoimmune conditions or inflammation, do not modify your dosages based on this video. Discuss any changes with your doctor. If you experience heart palpitations, chest pain, or severe dizziness during the cold water exposure, stop immediately. That indicates possible cardiovascular instability requiring medical evaluation. The cold water should feel invigorating and alerting, not painful or frightening. The protocol I just gave you has been known in chronobiology research for decades, but your doctor will never walk you through it in a 12-minute office visit because there's no billing code for teaching you how to use sunlight and cold water. The system profits from keeping you on medications that manage symptoms, not from teaching you how to fix the underlying rhythm disorder. This video gave you the complete framework. You now understand why you're exhausted, what's actually broken, and exactly how to fix it. If this helped you, send it to someone someone you care about, a parent, a friend, someone who keeps saying they're just tired all the time. You may have just given them a real chance to reclaim their energy and their life. Subscribe to Dr. Waterling right now if you haven't already. We're building a community of people who refuse to accept that decline is inevitable, who understand that your body works when you give it the right signals at the right times. Hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next video where we're going to talk about why your digestion stops working after 50 and the one food timing change that fixes it completely.